a stupid amount of books in January. And what's even more insane is that this is only 2 above average for the month of January. So we should start talking about them because there's a lot to get to here. And then we're also talking about my February TBR, which again, there's a lot to get to. A little bit less, but like, yeah. So if you remember from my January TBR, most of this is on here. And there's some extras because obviously I went over. But let's start with this. First book I read was What If? Mark Spector was the host of Venom. This was fun. This was just fun. It was a little bit less campy than I was hoping it was going to be. And due to like plot reasons, my favorite character was not in this as much as I was hoping they would be. But I enjoyed this. It was fun. I will say, if you are new to Moon Knight and you are coming from this from the Disney Plus series, Steven is comic book Steven, and they are different. So, but I highly recommend this if you enjoy Moon Knight, if you like Venom, if this in any way intrigues you, you should read it. I will say, there's a bit of an is my understanding, but there's actually a bit of an overarching storyline going on here with the other 2 books. You don't need to for the other 2 books, but, because I didn't, and I still had a great time. But I think the stuff with America might be talked about in the other books. I don't know, because I haven't read the other 2 yet, but here we are. Then I read Dirt Music by Tim Wilton. Every complaint about this man not knowing how to write women tracks. There was some things, and I overall liked this book. I will say that. But I will say, this book came out in 2002, written by a cis, straight, white man from Australia. So there's some things that have not aged well, or shouldn't have been there in the first place. One of the characters makes a kind of racist joke to their dog. Like, but overall, I liked this. It's really funny, because there was this one scene when I was excited to read. Because in the book, that scene kind of just ends. Sorry, in the movie, that scene just kind of ends. Turns out, it also just kind of ends in the book. And there's nothing, there's a little bit more that happens after, but like, that scene ends the way it does in the book. And that was wild. That was absolutely wild. Then I read Burn a Black Candle, an Italian-American grimoire. I actually had started this in December, and then paused it when January hit, so that Moon Knight came my first book of January, which is a little bit unhinged, but like, here we are. And I liked this. Obviously, as you can see, I like tabbed some things. I definitely think that like, if you've read some other Italian-American grimoire, for like witchcraft books, like I think it's Italian Magic or Italian Kitchen. I will put a cover of it. Or if you watch like any of oh gosh, Chaotic Witch Ants videos, some of this will not be like new information to you, but I really like the way it's laid out in this book, and I think if you're someone that wants to practice Italian folk magic, this is not a bad one to pick up. Then I read Strange Beasts by Susan J. Morris. This was crack. This was all of, like, I knew going in that all of the, like, inputs that I've been told were, like, things that would interest me. I devoured this. I read this in, like, 2 days. Anyway, Secret Society of Monster Fighters. And it turns out that, like, Moriarty's, as in, like, Sherlock's Moriarty, is, like, his daughter works for Secret Society. They all don't trust her. So they're, like, desperate to, like, send anyone to, like, spy on her. And our main character, like, agrees. But not really. She's like, well, you've already assigned her the case that I want to work on. For, like, family personal reasons. So I'm just gonna go do that. And ignore all of you dumb men. Which is the correct call. I enjoyed this so much. And I would like more, please. Yes, absolutely. It was delicious, and I loved it. It was my favorite book that I read all month. Then I reread / there was some changes in it. There were some changes in this edition. So it's kind of a new book, but like also not really. Because like I said, I have read this. That is Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. There's a couple things she changed. Not like huge major changes, but like where some certain chapters end differently than they did in the original, which like I'm fine with. This was such a good reread, and I really liked it. And I can't wait to read the others as they all start coming out in these new editions. Sorry, the stack of books I've been making just like fell over, and you probably heard that. Next, I read The World as It Is by Ben Rhodes. This was interesting. I always think it's really interesting, like how people decide to write memoirs about themselves, especially like when they have jobs as like important as Ben did, because you either go into a lot of detail about the actual job or your personal life. And Ben goes for the job aspect, which is fine. It was like less personal than like I would say like I always compare this to Yes We Still Can, because I think Dan does a better, because I think, but I also have to remind myself that they're doing different things. Like that they are two different books and they're doing different things. But that is, I think I would have maybe liked this more had I not had some expectations going in. I don't know. I will say though, what I did, because I overall did like this. Because I think like as someone who was in middle school and high school and also like homeschooled for a lot of what's being talked about here. Like I had these sort of vague like memories of like hearing about things on TV, but like not really having any like context of like or understanding what was happening. So I was fascinated by this. I don't think it's a memoir that like everyone, unless you're like really interested in foreign policy, I don't really think this is a memoir that like everyone should like go read. I'll just put that. Then we have we have Rubber Girl by S.T. Gibson. This was fun. This is about a girl and a princess. No, is it princess? No, I think she's just a witch. And a you can tell like I read some stuff like sort of. I had a small reading slump, and you can tell where I was in this because that this was during this time because I could not tell you some of the plot points right now. But anyway, it's at least two girls, one of whom is like the daughter of the King of Thieves, and the other is, I believe, like a witch or princess. And anyway, they are trying to find the Snow Queen, so that the princess can get her brother back. It was very cute. But yeah, definitely like wintry vibes. Actually, it even says as Christmas tide draws, gives way to the thin veiled days. So it was like seasonally appropriate and just like, yeah. Then I read The Soldier Scoundrel by Kate Sebastian. Now, if you have read The Queering Principles of Kate Webb by Kate Sebastian, this will feel like that book in a different font. And I mean that in like a good way. I read, that was my first Kate Sebastian book. And then I read the sequel book. And then I went back and bought a bunch of her backlog. And I have been chasing the high of Kit Webb ever since. Because none of these were hitting in the same way. And I still gave this overall like a lower star rating than I did Kit Webb. But dang, this came so close. So like, I was giddy. I was just laughing it up. I was enthralled. So if you like the Queering Principles of Kit Webb and you've not read any of her other books, this might not be a bad way to do that. Because like I said, it feels very similar, just slightly different font. Like con artist, gentleman vibe. Like it's yeah, it was good. In Meh, I read Do Androids Dream Ever Like Sheep by Philip K. Dick. I bought this. I actually didn't buy this. I was gifted this years ago, which is why it was on my TBR. Because I'm kind of meh on Blade Runner. I liked the sequel to the movie that they made a couple years ago, but, or I guess it was several years ago. But I was kind of like meh on the original. So unsurprisingly, I felt very meh about this. But you know what you're gonna do. Then in absolutely gorgeous like writing, and I wish I just like knew. So okay, this is After Sappho by Shelby Wynne Schultzworth. This was longlisted for the Booker Prize in 2022 when it came out. I wish that I had known more about some of the women in this book going in, because I think it would help me like actually have an understanding, more of a contextual understanding, even though like the prose in this is like gorgeously written. So okay, this is about a bunch of real women, and sort of they either are like artists, writers, activists, and sort of using the lens of having read Sappho's as sort of a inroad to talk about them. I love the way she uses like sort of a Greek chorus in some of the narrations. So it's like we as a group like did this right. I wish. I feel like it's primarily like European, and I could be wrong. There may have been one or two that were outside of Europe, but for the most part, it's very European focused. But yeah, it's like gorgeously written. Like I really enjoyed it, but like I do have a few critiques about it, and like again, I wish that I had kind of known more about who the women were going in to the book, so that like I had some more historical context for who they were and their work. Next up we have Checkmate by Ali Hazelwood. Oh my gosh, I loved this. This was cute, I will say. Not my favorite Ali Hazelwood book, and I think that's because like it is young adult. Although like I say it's young adult, they're like she's like 20 at the start of the book, 19. So like very much like end of high school, early college age. Actually, hang on. If we go to okay, she's 19 because we get a 2-year. There's like 2 years between the book and then like the epilogue. So she's 19. But I really liked this. Like I had a good time. I would say this is for me is on par with Two Can Play. But and then I just finished His and Hers. I'm not gonna lie, I normally don't read thrillers. My exception is Kristen Ritter's book Bonfire, and then I'll be reading her next book that comes out in March. I have a lot of thoughts on this book. So, really quickly, for the context to why I read this book, there is a Netflix adaptation coming out that stars Sean Bernthal, which is why I picked this up. I literally picked this up the day it was announced that he was getting it, like that bad. So, and I overall liked this. I want to like specify that, like I was thoroughly entertained throughout. The reveal of who the killer is, I didn't like. The chapters from the killer's POV, I didn't like. There's a thing that we learn about a character that would have made more sense for us to learn before certain things happened, because it could have been like an interesting red herring, but then it wasn't a red herring because they were already dead by the time we found out that they had done that thing. I feel like there were some things in here that were just there for like shock value rather than actually like to be plausible or realistic. Mainly like if you've read this book, I'm talking about Zoe. If you've not read this book, just know that I have a lot of quims with things about Zoe. I also understand that this genre typically does not like true trigger warnings. I wasn't triggered, but I would have liked to have known all of what I was getting myself into. If I recommend this to people, I will, when I do recommend this book to people, I will be like, you should look at the trigger warnings. I'm actually really glad that I read this before the show adaptation comes out, so that if certain things that are in here are still in the show, I'll be like, knowing what's happening before it happens. To prepare myself mentally for that being on screen. But yeah, no, I would have given this before. I ended up, the more I sat down and thought about it, the more certain things were not writing me the right way. Not from like a narrative, like the things, the order of events that we learn certain things in, the killer's POV chapters, those things like rubbed me the wrong way, and so I knocked this down to a 3.75 stars for me, but it was very close to being a 4-star. I will say that. Really quickly, before we go into my February TBR, I want to talk about books that are coming out in February that I'm excited about. We have Deep by Ali Hazelwood. Deep End. Yes, Deep End. I don't know why I just said deep. It's Deep End. I will be reading this in March, for certain. I also believe that Topsy of a Next Teenage Heartthrob is also coming in February. And I'm also very excited for that. That'll probably be an April read if I do pick it up. We'll see. With sort of the current uncertainty of prices of things here in the US, book buying may not be a regular hobby of mine, but we shall see. We shall see what happens and when I get around to actually picking up in February. But here we are. So these are the books I want to read in February. I don't own all of the ones I want to get to in February right now. At least 2 of them I'm for sure getting from the library, but we'll start with the stack. So first up, we have Hip Hop is History by Questlove, because I'm very fascinated. As someone who doesn't listen to a lot of hip hop, but listens to some, I feel like this is very important for me to read as a white person that listens to hip hop. Next up, we have House of Frank by Kay Sinclair. This, I have been told that this is cozy-ish fantasy about a witch going to this house to lay her sister's ashes. So it's also a meditation on grief. Yeah. And if you saw this in my media haul, you will know that this has the bright edges because I have the binder edition. But which, oh my gosh, binder just announced the next 4 titles they're releasing, and I think I'm very excited. There's some coming up in the fall that I think I'm a little bit more excited for, but we'll take what we get. And then the next 2 are sequels. This is The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. This is the 3rd and final book in the Broken Earth trilogy. I really enjoy this trilogy. Although, if you've never started with N.K. Jemisin, I will say that I think this duology is actually a better place to start, because this is where I started, even though what's really funny is I'm finishing this now, but I've read the whole Broken Earth, or probably will, and that is The Worlds We Make by N.K. Jemisin. This is the sequel to The City We Became, and I think The City We Became is maybe a easier introduction to N.K. Jemisin's work, especially if you're not a huge fan, this is urban fantasy. This is maybe my favorite urban fantasy duology, having not actually read this yet. That's how much I like The City We Became, though. So, the other books that I want to get to are Great Expectations, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the author, and I will put the cover here. This is a fictionalized, my understanding, this is a fictional story about electing the first Black president. It's also my understanding they worked in the Obama administration. So, I'm very excited to read this. It actually comes out on paperback, so I'm filming this my last 2 days off in January. I believe this is coming out on paperback on the 4th. So, but this was getting a lot of praise last year, and I just didn't get around to it last year because I didn't find out about it until super late, and I was like, well, the paperback's coming out, I'll just wait till then. Okay, there's another, The Secret Lives of Church Women. This is a short story. I'm planning on getting the audiobook from Libby, because it's 4 hours, so it's a really quick thing that I can throw on while I play video games or something. I don't know. The other, sorry, I have to go, because I'm going to forget, I have to go pull it up, and because I'm going to forget the title, which I feel really bad. I was I'm literally picturing the cover too. There's no reason for me to. Medgar and Marland, Medgar Evans and the Love Story That Awakened America by Joanne Reed. This also came out last year. I'm getting the audiobook because it's actually read by Joanne Reed. But I'm looking forward to this. I think is like the wrong word. I am personally aware that as a younger white woman that grew up with the parents that I did and being homeschooled, there are certain aspects of American history that I know nothing about. So this is that. So just some civil rights biography over here, right? Like, so yes. Okay, so I was looking it up. I also might try to get to night crawling. I think that's but I also might just leave like 2 blank spots. I don't know. I am trying to get to 9 this month. Like 9's the monthly average for February. I have a little bit of leeway because I am ahead for where I should have been at the end of January, but I am gonna still try to hit the monthly average. And I pitched night crawling as my 8th, and then number 9 gets to be whatever. So we'll see. I'm gonna try. We'll see. It's gonna depend on a lot of things. Like what I can get my hands on probably from the library. Unless there's like something that I desperately want to own. But I will say it was a little bit harder to, because I was also trying to limit myself to specifically African American authors and not just like Black authors, because like that diaspora is different. So, which did make this a little bit harder because I had to cut out some authors that I thought I was gonna read this month. But that is currently what my TBR is looking like. We'll see if that ends up happening, but there's at least 7 there for sure happening. We'll see what the other 2 look like. But yeah, thank you so much for watching.